Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. and it's May 14th. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday we pretty much opened right above the previous day's close in futures and drove higher. Okay, there wasn't really, for my style, a setup to just go long. There wasn't much of a pullback, and then it kind of just like meandered and just you know I did full transparency try a quarter position short, and that basically one I took obviously a quarter position is very small, and then I took another one that was up almost $1, and then I just moved that to break even, and that so very tiny loss yesterday, only because of that trend channel I've been showing you guys, and I wasn't confident. It was just, hey, this could be a nice move. Let me put a quarter of risk out. That's all. So we're still battling that trend channel, okay, in the Qs. It broke it, and now it's right at it right now. And in the ES, it literally hit it to the tick, and it's moved away from it. So who knows? I don't know what's going to happen. This is definitely getting very frothy, but this market can move and be irrational. And they say that the markets can be irrational, then you can stay solvent, which is always correct. I'm not going to sit here and tell you RSI is overbought, so now we have to sell. That's not how I work. All right, so what we're doing right now, we're inside yesterday's session in this S&P 500. Okay, some big movers this morning are semis. Get your AMD, Nvidia, and Tesla are moving pretty nicely. Okay, just a couple things Trump has said that's obviously probably sparking that. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day, along with anchored VWAPs and market internals once the market opens. That helps me figure out who's strong, who's weak, and what kind of setup I want to trade. Okay, yesterday was just not a great day for my style. Okay, hence using quarter risk. Right now, hopefully, you can join me every day. I give you the story of the markets, the lowdown, what's going on, market news, economic calendar, leaders and the laggards. All right, you go over earnings as well if they're driving markets, and daily charts, triple-headed monster, that's your dollar, your VIX, and your 10-year yield. All right, then followed by analysis of the ES and the Nasdaq futures, and I give you long and short trade scenarios. All right, and hopefully that helps you out, or at least see how I come up with a game plan. Of course, when the market opens, I have usually another little alternate game plan happens. If the levels that don't line up, then I usually come up with an alternative just based on, because nobody knows how the market's going to open. Okay, nobody knows. Yesterday, just to show you, internals were very bullish. Okay, very bullish. Let me just show you real quick. Here's the internals. I mean, this is from the open, and that's very strong. Okay, with tech being very strong, the leader. That's why I did quarter. All right, especially when it hit 5,900 in SPX right here. I got short, and I think I got this move here, and then I was like, well, it could break lower, but I knew that there was a shot that it won't. And then I just put my stop. I think it was my break even was here, I think. Okay, but generally, I took a stab just because of where it was in macro. I wasn't confident. All right, so very tiny loss. Now, can this continue? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, because seasonality wise, generally it's sell and main go away. Okay, if we look at the S&P 500 seasonality, right? I have a little script here. And we just look at the last 10 years. Okay. Usually we bottom out in June and we have a weaker May. Okay, so I'm going to show you that in a second right here. So I just generated this graph. Now the purple line is what we're doing this year. You notice how like the blue line is the 10-year average. So you can see we dip in February, bottom out in March. We get a little bullish to April, right? And then you tend to go down in May. And you usually bottom out in June, get a little rally in the summer, and then you bottom out usually in September or October. Okay, so we're you can see this line is crossed up, and this is basically a news catalyst driven trade deal with China that's going to thwart all technical analysis, everything. News catalysts just are just going to do what they do. It's not going to follow any kind of structure. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. All right, that's what we're dealing with. That's your seasonality. All right, I'd like to give you guys everything. Hopefully you enjoy that. All right, now let's get right into futures and let's see what's moving markets. All right, let's see what's moving markets. Bitcoin. This is still broken. This percentage. All right, we're up 104 for what is that? 104.45. I think that's my eyes are getting bad. Don't get old. All right, NQ up 0.32. 30-year bonds being bought. ES up 0.22. Dow's up 0.09. The VIX is up 0.05, which is nothing. We're at 18.23 VIX. The Russell's down 0.18. The dollar's down 0.32. 10-year yield is down 0.33. Gold's down a percent. So gold's pulling back. All right, gold's pulling back. Silver's down 1.22. Crude, interesting, down 1.30. Finally pulling back a little bit. Okay, Ethereum is down actually. Wow, splitting from Bitcoin, down 2.24. I don't know why that is, but it is down. All right, now get over to Mag 7. There's stuff happening here. AMD is up almost 4%. Okay, closed at 112.46. We're up at the almost 117s. Okay, Nvidia closed at 129. We're up and over that 130 level, and we're at 134 right now. Okay, so moving pretty nicely. Now Tesla also has been having a nice run. They are up 3.10. 3.10. Meta's up 0.91. Coinbase up 0.79. Boeing up 0.73. Eli Lilly up 0.69. Google up 0.54. Broadcom up 0.15. GE up 0.14. And Amazon pretty much flat. Okay, Netflix flat. Berkshire Hathaway flat. JP Morgan flat. Apple down 0.26. And Microsoft is the laggard, down 0.40. Down 0.40. Okay. Now, one note here. United Healthcare. I don't know why they're bouncing so much right now. They have been hammered. They were down at something close to 50%. Okay. That stock's been hammered. I'm expecting this stock to somewhat rebound, and it is this morning. Okay, that's going to push the Dow. All right, currently up 3.32%. It closed at 311. It's already up to 322. Now, is this finally money coming into this? Because that is a stock that's has a wide moat and very profitable. They already talked about the CEO, all the CEO getting shot. The CEO stepped down. Medical costs have been higher. They cut guidance. So like you name it, it's the book's been thrown at it, and now it's time. Probably it's a value. All right. It went down to like 30, almost 300 yesterday, and ripped down another key support. 387 was a key support. Then 360 was a key support. Then 320 something was a key support. It just ripped it. Now, is it a time to get to nibble? Probably, if you want to do it. Okay. Just wanted to shed some light on that. Now, sectors. That's what moves the market, right? Semiconductors is risk on, right? They're up 1.16, followed by technology, which encompasses semis, but it's 0.55 up. All right. Discretionary at your Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depot up 0.35. Healthcare, that's your United Healthcare, Eli Lilly. Okay. Up. Okay, now Eli Lilly's taken a bloodbath lately as well because Trump wants to make pharma drugs cheaper right? That should help like United Healthcare, right? That'd be cheaper cheaper costs for drugs, right? We'll have to see. We'll just have to see. Crazy, crazy. Healthcare's been getting demolished lately. Okay, it's probably money's going to rotate into that eventually, most likely. Okay, let's see. Staples down 0.11, and the bottom is energy down 0.44. I have to look at exactly why that is happening. Okay, now we're moving on here. We're moving on to news. Look at calendars. All right, today's a data light today. Right. So today we have 30-year mortgage. All right, so 30-year mortgage has went up 6.86. That makes sense. 10-year yield has went up, so that's gonna be lock and step with the mortgages. Okay, pretty much goes off the 10-year yield. All right, and then we have crude inventories at 10:30. Now Fed Jefferson is going to speak at 9:10 a.m. That's before the market, which is awesome. Not really. And then 5:40, which is market close, Fed daily. Now tomorrow, okay, Fed Powell speaking at 8:40 a.m. before the market opened. Before the market opens. I prefer that. 8:40. I'm not going to trade anyway. He'll probably be done before the market opens. Okay. If we're just looking at some earnings, okay. Yesterday, after the close, Nubank. Okay, Nubank. That's the only one I own a little bit of Nubank, so that's the only one I really cared about. Before the open today, okay, Sony, Tencent. That's the only ones I really care about. After the close today, Cisco, Iris Energy, CoreWeave. What else here? That's about it. Okay, before the open tomorrow, Alibaba, Walmart. Okay, John Deere. So some bigger ones tomorrow. All right. Getting back here. Now, as far as stocks moving this morning, Cisco stock rose 0.4 ahead of the technology equipment firm's latest results, with the company having lifted its annual revenue outlook. Let's see, retail. American Eagle Outfitters stock slumped 13% after the clothing retailer withdrew its outlook for the year after posting disappointing preliminary first quarter results. Ford stock fell 0.2, with the auto giant recalling 273,000 vehicles. Now, Supermicro Computer is the mover this morning. Stock jumped 15% after the computer hardware manufacturer announced a multi-year $20 billion partnership with Saudi data center firm Datavolt. Novo Nordisk stock rose 2% after the drug maker struck a collaboration and licensing deal with U.S. biotech Septerna to develop a oral small molecule. All right, all right. That's that. Now, if we go over to, let's just look at the juice. I usually go over. Now, there's a lot of Trump headlines. Okay, that looks to me that would spark markets. Let's see here. Um, let's see. I don't know what that is. USCBP releases changes to reciprocal tariffs in China. Imports from China to be subject to a 10% tariff as expected. Okay. Trump. Trump tax cuts bill is advanced by the House panel on the party line vote. Trump. There may be news on Russia Ukraine today. Man, if he gets a peace deal with them, that would be something, right? Now, let's look at some more news. So, exclusive. Tesla to resume shipping Chinese parts for Cybercab. Semi-production in the U.S. Source says, okay. In Tesla's wake, more big companies propose voting Dexit to depart Delaware. In coming weeks, investors in 9 public companies worth at least $1 billion each will vote on proposals to ditch Delaware as their place of incorporation. Wow, potentially denting the state's long-time reputation as corporate America's capital. Interesting. Okay. Advocacy group threatens Meta with injunction over use of EU data for AI training. Chinese e-commerce sites offer discounts of up to $351 on Apple's latest iPhones. All right, now let's look at what's going on here. The dollar weakened after the U.S. latest U.S. inflation print raised bets on further rate cuts. Among commodities, oil prices dropped as traders eyed a potential jump in U.S. crude inventories, awaiting official weekly data later in the day in OPEC's monthly oil report. Gold prices were also in the red, with the yellow metal losing its safe haven appeal. Okay. Just going to mention, let's see what's NVIDIA. All right, company CEO Jensen Huang's personal net worth jumped to around 120 billion on Tuesday, up from 80 billion last year, as a boom in demand for the company's artificial intelligence chips has powered a steep rally in its shares. NVIDIA hit 3 trillion in market value after it agreed to sell hundreds of thousands of AI chips to Saudi Arabia, with many chips to to an AI startup launched by its sovereign wealth fund. All right, and a demand signed demand for its top line processor is still booming. The company shares closed 5.6% higher at 129.93. Now, I just told you before, almost at 134 right now. The deal came as part of U.S. President Donald Trump's Gulf tour, which kicked off in Saudi Arabia with plans to visit the UAE later in the week. So that's what's pushing semis, okay? Remember, I always give you the news, all right? Okay. Boeing, TD Cowen raises Parker price to 200 from 180. Rivian, Jeffrey cuts rating to holding from a buy. All right, United Health Group, check this out. Oppenheimer cuts target price from 600 to 400 after the company appointed a new CEO and also suspended a full 2025 guidance to increases in care activity across its Medicare book. Now, could this be the negative news? And remember, this is negative, and now the United Healthcare is pushing up. Okay, this could be the last I mean, there's been so much negative news, right? How much more can it go? I don't know. Okay, but that's just interesting. You get that big $200 chop in price. Okay, that's a monster cut. All right, because it's a solid company at the end of the day, and it's an essential healthcare. It's not going to go anywhere. So we'll have to see. All right. Now, some things you know what? I don't have to get into that. I don't have to get into that. I'm trying to think of some charts that I want to show you. I don't really have to show you that much. I think we can get into daily charts here. Let's do it. All right, let's do it. Some large orders hitting the tape. Now remember, healthcare yesterday was down. All right, just give you a little shot here. It'll come up on your screen. Healthcare, you can see right there, was down 1.57% off the open yesterday. That was a big laggard, right? If that was green, that market would have ripped even higher. Okay, healthcare is 10.8% of the market cap, weighting in the S&P 500. Okay, back to the dailies. All right, now here's that trend channel I've been talking about. Look what happened. Hit it. That was the resistance yesterday. That's why I took that quarter risk. Okay, right there. Boop. Wick. Now, when you look at this to the left, what stands out to me is, well, in the Nasdaq, it more stands out to me. I'm sorry. Okay, but this trend channel right here, pushed up to that 589, almost 5. Didn't reach 590 yesterday. 590 actually is a large positive gamma level. Okay, in SPY. Okay, so we closed at 586. We're currently at 588. So we are close to the highs of yesterday. Okay, close to the highs of yesterday. Big gap up, right? Over the 100-day to 200-day. Next resistance would be 597, 598. Okay, that's a clear resistance. Do we get there in a straight shot? I don't know. I never know, right? Whoever tells you they know, I wouldn't trust them. Okay, let's look at futures. Okay, futures, you can just see lower high, lower high, lower high, right? And you can see we're right at the top of yesterday's session. Okay, now in futures, this is the difference. This is what I was going to say. Resistance is pretty much this monthly highs of February, monthly lows of February. Right here, these white lines I always have in my charts. This is a monthly low. Okay, so you can see the market closed right under that. Okay, so there is resistance here at 59.23 in futures. Okay. Okay, moving on to the Qs. Here's that trend channel that it closed pretty much right a little bit above it. Now, what I was going to say yesterday was this. I'm sorry. What is that, January, February? This March's monthly highs. Okay, and we closed above the monthly highs of March in the QQQ. Okay, next resistance would be right here around 519, 520. In the Qs, 519, 520, I would expect some resistance. Okay, can we continue to break out of this channel? It's been honored multiple times. I don't know. Like I said, I never know. Let's look at futures. Okay, now futures, you can see here's an important monthly level, right? This is March's highs in futures, and we're right there, right? We're right there. Next resistance, I would say, in the futures would be 216.14. 216.14. Okay. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Look, you've had lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Just one time framing. That's what you call one time framing. Okay. So in the Qs, I didn't say where we were, or maybe I did. I can't remember. 517, pretty much 518, right? So 518. Yeah, interesting. Like right here. We're actually literally at the highs of yesterday. Okay. Moving on to that bond market, that triple-headed monster. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. 10-year yield. That's squirrely. 10-year yield. Okay. Battling this trend line here, this wedge. Anchor VWAP at a 2025. Okay. Does it rip up? That would be very interesting when this market's ripping up, that bonds are correlated with the market. I mean, the yield is usually not correlated with the market. Okay. Yields usually don't rise and the market is rising. Usually these go down and yields get lower. Okay, because people want to put their money in the stock market. But we just have to see. All right, now let's look at the dollar. Remember the dollar, I wanted to be bullish that dollar. You're getting somewhat of a pullback here, right at this trend line, right? It hit the 50-day moving average, boop. 9 EMA daily is catching it here. We could probably throw a little trendy trend line on here. That would be your primary here. Then I would set another one here. Okay, let's just watch that. I'm gonna watch that. Okay. Now we ended up with that VIX, that 30 days of fear out. That's your VIX. That's what it is. It's for 30 days out. Okay. And you can see we're just dripping lower. We're at 18.15. Okay, underneath the 200-day moving average. That's all that needs to be said. Right now we'll do our hourly chart that I've been doing now. And I'm going to show you that ES here. Boom. Here we are. Here's the hourly charts. And see some levels here. All right, you can see this anchored view up from Sunday has been support, right? That's been pushing up, okay? Here's that trend channel. Look at that. That hit that yesterday, and then what happened? Tried to go up again and then push down again, and now it's making a move up. Does it become resistance again? I don't know. Okay, you're in a supply zone right now. Okay, you're in a supply zone. So this looks like higher prices are coming, but I don't know. Okay, we're above a lot of major stuff here. Okay, here's your anchored view up for 2025 was right there. Here's your anchored view up from the all-time high. We're above it. So buyers are definitely in control. Okay, buyers are in control. And this one is your scene of the crime here. This is the Sunday gap open from the China trade deal. So this is an anchored view up I'm going to pay attention to. Okay, because that is buyers from that trade deal. Okay, that's a very important anchor view op to pay attention to. Okay, and you can see this is a high volume node right here from the past. Like I said, we're eventually going to get some type of pullback or correction. Nobody knows when. The hardest thing is the timing. Okay, that's what's hard about trading, right? It's the timing. I could be right, but the timing might be off. All right, here's your NASDAQ. All right, not much different here, but look, you broke out of that trend, that top channel, then you struggled with it, came back in, and now you're struggling with it again, right? And like I said, this could be a nice move eventually down to here, but I don't know if that happens. Okay, and here's just your anchor view up from that Sunday open, been support. you do have supply zone right here. We'll get into that later. I just wanted to show you that this trend channel right now is still being honored until we really just break out and close above it. But we have to see. You just never know. Okay? And that is the hourly charts. Okay? Now we're going to go move on. Move on to the market profile and the volume profile. Okay? I'm going to switch over my workspace. We'll go right over there and we'll analyze these markets together. Okay? So this is your market profile, your volume profile analysis, and let's get right into it. Okay? First thing I like to do is recap what happened yesterday. So let's recap yesterday. Okay? Here's yesterday. I might be even zoom up until that gets bigger. Okay, let's look at yesterday, right like this. Okay, let me get the white color out and look at it. Okay, so remember what I love. I guess I'm going to say I love about my charts is what I have on here is all key levels automatically get painted in for me. Okay, all levels get automatically painted in. So look at the close of futures. The close was here, right? Now I didn't like again. This wasn't a setup for me because it just happened at the beginning of the market, but the market opened and it pulled back right to the previous day's close, and then it took off. Took off again, and that's when it kind of chopped around, made a last minute move, okay, and closed here. Right there. See, now the closes, I have it already painted. The closes for me today. Like, right? So I'll look at that and go, okay, that's yesterday's close. That's an important level. So that's what we did yesterday. Okay. Remember, market profile is just 30-minute bars. And then when I collapse it, it becomes a profile. So it's pretty simple. Okay. Pretty simple here. And I'll leave it here. Let's move it up a little bit. Let's move it up a little bit. Okay. Now, next thing I like to do is we analyze the profile of the week, the rolling week. And you can see this is from pretty much Sunday's open. You got the void, you got the gap, right? Always mark off the gaps. Then you have a bunch of distributions, right? Bunch of distributions. Now, the market has yet to move the most traded price of the week higher. Probably will do that sooner or later, but each time it keeps moving, moving, moving. Okay? And anytime you get this consolidation and you don't have excess, so what I would be looking for, if I'm even going to remotely attempt a short, need some type of excess here, high. You see how we're building out volume here? And it's an incomplete profile, so I would expect some kind of push up today. And maybe that's it, maybe it's not. Okay? So let's look at levels that we can look at for today. Now, you do have single prints. Okay, I want to show you this. Very, very thin volume here on that move. So in order for that to be important, all right, I want to introduce you to my little elf, not my elephant. So I call that an elephant on a stick. So why do I say that? Because this should not offer much support for this price action here. And I call that an elephant on a toothpick. And an elephant should not hold up a toothpick. Okay? But if this thin little toothpick holds up this price action, that is bullish. So any movement into single prints that gets bought is bullish. Okay? In a very weak market, this will get sliced. Okay? That is called single prints here, okay, in market profile terminology. Okay, so this overnight low, the overnight actually has a poor low. It has a poor low here. I don't need this to tell me that, but I like that this indicator tells me poor low. I see it right here. Poor low is just a double bottom in 30-minute bars. And generally what that means is it needs to be corrected because it doesn't have excess. All auctions usually end in excess at the bottom, excess at the bottom. That's how most markets end. When they don't end in excess, sometimes has to be repaired. Okay, that's all market profile terminology there. Okay, so What does that mean? Let's open up the overnight session, right? We'll see the price action here. So there's the price action. There's the double bottom. Let's call the poor low. Okay. You can see multiple times there tested. That level is 58.9625. Okay. Now I'm not saying this gets taken out and we fall. My guess is if we do, we will correct this. Boop, could cause some sweep of liquidity here, and then that could make the move higher. Okay. But I don't know, right? So if I'm looking at important levels here, okay, if I'm looking at important levels here, right, we do have a confluence high. That would mean the yesterday's highs and the overnight highs are pretty much close together. So 59.27 to this overnight high become an important level. Okay, there is resistance here, which could get broken. Okay, now when the price action right now is starting to push down, you have the most traded price of the overnight right here at 59.03, right there. Those are longs. You have that poor low. Okay, so this poor low, the overnight low, and the will encompass the 59.03 most traded price of the night is going to be an important level for me. What else is? I just told you. These single prints. There's the toothpick. So this area is all single prints. Okay. And then you got yesterday's lows. Demand zone down here. This line right here is actually a 12-hour demand zone, so that could get bought all the way up into these singles. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's get scenarios going here. Let me see how this looks here. This could be bars aligned too. So that's the price action. These are just bars. So that's really, I don't really think that helps too much. I think looking at the overnight is pretty much cleaner look. Okay. So let's talk about, I'm not even sure if I put that up. I think I did, but I'm going to do it again anyway. All right, let's talk about the bull case here. All right. Now, we definitely are getting pretty frothy, but like I said, we can still keep moving. All right. Now, what would I look for today? Now, we do have the most traded price of yesterday. It's about 59.15. Okay, market's right there. Okay. So, I wouldn't love this as much, but we could push up, take out that confluence high like I talked about, right? You know, and then hit the top of the supply. And then if we did pull back to the most traded prices yesterday, and you can see right there, it's a level, right? 59.12 about. If we hold that, then we can dribble higher. We can dribble higher. What I would probably prefer is the market pulling back, coming through the 59.03 most traded price of the overnight. So you can see all this action here and correct the poor low here by doing this. Whoop. And then what do you go into? You go into those single prints, right? And if single prints are supportive, right, and this elephant has a toothpick that should be bought because that thing's going to hold up an elephant, that is bullish. And now you have liquidity that's sold that can get punished and you can move higher. Okay? That's all I'm really probably interested in. Yes, you can get a deeper pullback into the single prints as long as they hold. That should be a long. All right. In here, I'm not too crazy about it. If we're in here, that means the market got weak and I'm probably not interested. Okay, so moving on to the short side. Here's our little short side. Okay, we are in supply right here. We do have that confluence high. So what could be a bull trap, right? Like I just said, this move up breaks that, hits the end of this supply. If we come back through lower highs, this could be boom, profit take right at the most traded price of yesterday. Come through 59.03, the most traded price of the overnight, and then boom, that's another profit take there, breaking this poor high. Now, the gravy here is finding acceptance into these single prints and wham, right into yesterday's lows. Okay, If you take out yesterday's lows, you could find yourself down in the 58.40, or you bounce a little bit. Okay, it's pretty much what I'd be interested in. All right, that's the ES. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. All right, let's move on to the NASDAQ. All right, let's look at the NASDAQ together. Okay, so NASDAQ doesn't have a poor low. All right, that's a little structurally different. We don't have that confluence high, equivalent RTH high to the overnight high. It broke that. Okay, and remember, you got chips being bullish this morning. That's why the Nasdaq is relatively stronger. Okay, got to remember that. Now we do have single prints all the way down, right? Because what did the Nasdaq do? Right, same thing, right? Opened up, didn't quite go down to the close, right? That was it. It went to a previous high though, right here, and boop, ripped, but left single prints. Okay, my boy Elfie. Okay, single prints. Okay, now don't get too excited. I said the way to use single prints is what the market is showing you. If the market's super weak, those single prints get ripped. If the market is strong, that toothpick holds up the elephant, and that is bullish. That's how you do it. It's not an all out, oh, we're in single prints. That's how I used to look at it when I first started because I loved them. I never heard of single prints, and I was like, oh my God, I love this single prints. Just to let you know, it's a gauge, it's like a thermometer. Okay? So let's look at this price action. Let's look at some levels. Okay? Now, so we don't have a supply until about 214.50 all the way up here. Okay? Remember, we're battling that trend channel as well. Now, as far as the weekly profile here, you got a big distribution here, push up, and a distribution. Okay. All right. Now, let's get into some levels here. Okay. We do have this, even though it's not poor, it's still poorish. All right. So at 213, 212.37. Okay. Which encompasses this demand zone, right? You have which encompasses yesterday's most traded price. You need to defend that, right? That's the immediate support that the NASDAQ needs to defend, okay? And what would I say to this? I didn't talk about this in the previous, is the value area low of yesterday is 212.02, right here. And why is that important? Okay? Every day, there's value area, and I have it in green on my profile, okay? That just means 70% of the trading volume happened in this area. That's why it's called a value area. Okay, below value area is below value, right? It's like a better deal. If you're buying something, you want it at a low value. If it's value area high, that's the high of value, right? You don't want to buy there. Okay, so this would be a nice level. Okay, that if we break this level, this value area low from yesterday could be supportive. Okay, it could be supportive. Now, if I open up the price action from yesterday, we should see some support there. Let's look at it. Bars aligned. Not really. Not in 30-minute bars you don't see support, but it's still important because it's 70% of the volume. Now, there is a POC value and there is a value volume. And now this is a POC actually. I don't want to get too in the weeds with it. Right? Because if you're not familiar with all the stuff I'm talking about, it might be confusing. Okay, so this is actually the time value area. So I know I'm going to hope I don't confuse anybody. So market profile is based on time. Volume profile is based on volume at price. Okay, so you could even see the POC yesterday was all the way up here at 213. Okay, that just meant the most time spent yesterday was at that price. The most volume was spent at 212.87. So you have time and volume. So this is time-based value, area, low, not value, not volume. Now the volume area low was, I believe, down here, like here about. So still important. Just wanted to say that. Okay, still important level that I will pay attention to. All right. So remember, we're looking like this market wants higher prices. We are pulling back right now into this demand zone. Okay. So this is what you got to defend. Single prints all in here. Okay. So it's pretty simple here. It's really not hard at all. So that's what I like. Simplicity is the name of the game. Okay. So let's get into scenarios here without me babbling too much on. Okay. All right. Here's our overnight session. Okay. Kind of has a bearish imbalance to the profile. Could be corrected a little bit. So what would I like right now? Now we did get the push up, so this could pull back into yesterday's most traded price, right? And this could hold the market. And then you get the nice move up into 214.50 supply. All right, that would be very simple. Okay, now you could get a pullback right to this support here of the overnight lows. Okay, and maybe get a little boop and then recover, and then you start to do lower highs, do the same price action all the way up to here. Okay, and I just talked about the value area low. So if we did come into here, that could also be the move up. And this is why I'm saying it's pretty simple, right? You can see, what am I telling you basically? I want to be long. All in this price action, right? Unless market internals tell me something different. Now, if we dip into these single prints and you recover very quickly, that's bullish. And I will probably go long and see where I can go. Okay? It's really all I'm interested in there. Now, as far as the bear side, right? I'm not sure if I have a supply zone here yet. You might have a 30-minute supply zone up here, but like I said, let's look into it, okay? Now, a lot of this stuff, when I talk about, it's just the inverse, okay? Just the inverse. Okay, so if we make it all the way up to here, am I going to be crazy about a short? Not sure, okay? It could be a scenario, okay? But this is what I would probably prefer. A move up, breaks the overnight highs, then comes through the open. Well, not the open, but lower high, lower high. This is where you're probably going to get some type of corrective action here and test yesterday's most traded price, right? Then is that support level of the overnight, which I think you probably can get a nice push into value area low single prints. I would think you get a little pushback, but you start accepting price. Yep, you're going to start, and the market gets weak, you're going to start to rip through these single prints and test yesterday's lows. And then you could boom and then bounce up. Okay, now, of course, what is in the scenarios as well, you could push just up into this supply zone. And like I said, because the market's so strong right now, that's kind of fighting like a train, a locomotive. And I would need to see a lot of lower highs in order for me to go, okay, maybe sure. But I probably wouldn't be crazy about that. Okay, because if you make it up there, the market's going to be probably decently strong. Okay, that's what I'm seeing. All right, so for the today. So that's it for today, folks. We have our plans. We have our plans. I like them. They're pretty simple. So hopefully you can join me and do those plans, right? Now remember, once the market opens, it's a whole different ball game. I got to see what the market internals are telling me, and I usually follow that to a T. That's my system. I go, okay, which side do I want to be on? All right, oh, you know what? That's not really setting up now. All that stuff, right? Hopefully you like my analysis and you can smash that like button for me. That would be much appreciated. Now join me every morning. I give you the lowdown, the market story. Hopefully, I'm not trying to tell you how to trade, just how I look at markets, right? I have like as soon as I look at the market profile and volume profile, I have a game plan and it's live with you. Okay. You don't like market profile, volume profile, that's fine. It's just another way to look at the market. I like that it gives me a game plan all the time. Okay. So, show me some love. All right. Now, again, I update every day my feelings, what I'm looking at in the markets on my Discord. If you want to join it, go to my YouTube homepage and join it. Like I said, if I find more interest, people want to see me go live, because I'm probably going to start going live again. Join up, wave hi, say, hey, I would like to see some live commentary. I will go live. All right, if there's enough interest. All right, if not, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Everybody have a great day trading. Stay green. No trades to trade.